Hello and very warm welcome to the Canada News with your host Divya Rai. Now let's take a look on the headlines. The Ontario government turned down an offer from the federal government to help with the vaccine rollout. Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott said the government would provide 25% of vaccine in hotspot area. Toronto Mayor John Tory announced the vaccine rollout, saying that 1.72 million people have been vaccinated in the city. Now news in detail. The Ontario government turned down an offer from the federal government 10 days ago to help with a vaccine rollout. But now the Ford government has appealed to the federal government for military assistance. Talking about this, Prabmeet Sarkaria, Associate Minister, Department of Small Business Enterprises, said that the government is capable of vaccinating 3 lakh people, but in view of the impact of third wave, the help of the army has been sought.
Both the Solicitor General, the Premier, and our entire team is working with the federal government on the logistics of it. Hopefully in the coming days, as we go through this, the province is prepared and working with our federal partners. But we've also numerous times also requested stronger measures at our borders to ensure that specifically around new variants entering into administration, we have the ability to roll out to 300,000 vaccines in a day, and that's why we've requested the government numerous times to ensure that they increase supply. Just today in my riding in my city of Brampton, we're rolling out in the next day vaccination of essential workers, whether it's at Maple Leaf Farm, Maple Lodge Farms, and at some point at Amazon and other employers as well. We do have the ability and capacity to drive vaccinations in our communities, and we have a robust and strong system and infrastructure set up to do that. So we'll continue to roll that out as the supply increases. We can get through this third wave, especially by redirecting more resources to those hotspots. Well, we have allocated the 25% here in Brampton as well on the pharmacy rollout. Peel has over 150 pharmacies. We are rolling in support to essential workers as well as the science table as requested. As Minister Elliott has also mentioned earlier today, we're looking at increasing that to 50% as supply increases, but we do recognize we need to go into hot zones, and that's exactly why we've shifted not only to supporting in those hot zones, but those essential workers that are getting vaccinated. We're also opening it up to the broader community to ensure that those 18 and over can also have access to those vaccines. And as Dr. Lowe, the Peel Medical Officer of Health here in Peel Region, develops his plan on the pop-up centers, we're going to be there to support them all along the way and ensure that we get vaccines into hot zones.
Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott said the government would provide 25% of vaccine in hotspot area, with the Peel region making up the bulk. He said that according to the advice of the science table, it can be increased up to 50% to reduce the prevalence of COVID. But supply is very important, which is likely to increase in the coming weeks. So the government will provide preference to the hotspots.
We're actually looking at all of the hotspots, and of course there are many in Peel that will benefit from the 25% allocation, and if we go to the 50% allocation, that even more so. It's really important that we've been limited up until now on the supply of vaccines that we're receiving, but starting next week we will be receiving much higher levels of doses from Pfizer. And so we don't want to be able to take vaccines away from any groups right now if we were to go to the 50%. But starting next week, should we decide to move forward with that, we would have a much larger allocation of vaccines to be able to put into those hotspot areas. And we're also taking a look, because we are not entirely sure about when our AstraZeneca vaccines are going to be coming in next. And the Moderna vaccines have been delayed 3 times, and now we're receiving about half of the level of doses we expected to receive. We're now doing a pilot project with several pharmacies in putting Pfizer into those pharmacies and making sure that we can do that safely, because you're, I'm sure, very aware of the cold storage requirements of the Pfizer vaccines and what they call the jiggle factor, that you're not supposed to move them very much. And we also need to make sure that all of the pharmacists who are going to be doing the vaccinations are knowledgeable as far as the allocation of the Pfizer vaccines are concerned too. So this is also something that we're looking to roll out quickly, because we want to make sure that we can continue to have as many places open for vaccinations as possible. Well, yes, as you know, the science table advised that we really attend to the hotspots as a way of getting transmission down across the entire province. So we did follow their recommendation with the 25% off the top. They are now recommending 50%, and we're looking at that now because we know that does have a really significant effect in reducing transmission, getting the numbers down, which means fewer people hospitalized and so on.
Toronto Mayor John Tory announced the vaccine rollout, saying that 1.72 million people have been vaccinated in the city so far, and the hotspots have been given priority, which is showing meaningful results. The mayor said in the coming days the supply of vaccines will increase in the city and will go ahead with this plan and vaccinate everyone.
Our Team Toronto effort to roll out COVID-19 vaccines is continuing, and I want to thank everyone involved in this citywide effort to get people vaccinated. More than 1,072,976 doses of vaccine have now been administered within the City of Toronto. Even with the limited vaccine supply we have right now, we have vaccinated more than 1 in 3 adults in Toronto. We are making progress, and that progress must continue. So thank you to our hospital and healthcare partners, our pharmacies, our doctors, and all the community agencies working with us to get shots in arms across the city, and making sure through our Team Toronto Sprint strategy that we're getting shots in arms in our hottest of hot spots. That's why we brought in the Sprint strategy, to help get thousands more people vaccinated each week in the neighborhoods where we know COVID-19 is raging disproportionately at this time. Dr. Davila will detail today the real impact this strategy is having and the dramatic improvement in vaccine rates we are seeing in hotspots exactly as intended. The M3N hotspot, which, for example, includes the Black Creek neighborhood, improved the most out of all 13 Team Toronto hotspots, with vaccination coverage, at least 1 dose, improving from 8.3% as of the 1st of April to 35.8% as of April 22nd. That shows a plan that is working with much left to be done. This was across all age groups, but especially in the 16 to 24, 60 to 64, and 80 plus age groups. We heard encouraging news this morning at the city's command team meeting about the vaccine supply. Vaccine doses are on the way, and this will mean in coming weeks more appointments available in our city-run vaccine clinics and more doses going into the hotspot neighborhoods. But while that is indeed encouraging news, we know this week, as Chief Pegg will detail, we are in somewhat of a vaccine valley. In short, we have significant vaccination capacity which will not be able to be fully utilized because available supply does not allow for it.
MPP Gurratan Singh from Brampton East said that Brampton is currently going through a worrying situation due to coronavirus. In Brampton, the positive rate of COVID is 22%, although it is the highest ever. Christine Elliott, Ontario's health minister, said Brampton's hospitals are working day and night to deal with the COVID.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Brampton is in a crisis. We have a COVID-19 positivity rate of over 22%, making it one of the highest in the entire country. People are getting sick and dying at an alarming rate. Our only hospital at Brampton Civic is struggling to keep up with the surge of COVID-19 patients. Now, Brampton was a COVID-19 hotspot since the beginning of this pandemic, and from the beginning, we were left behind by the Conservative government. We were left behind when it came to testing and getting access to the resources we need to fight COVID-19, and now when we need it the most, we're being left behind again when it comes to getting access to the life-saving vaccine. Per capita, Brampton has one of the fewest pharmacies giving out vaccines when compared to other municipalities throughout Ontario. We only have one COVID-19 pop-up location, which is not even located in Brampton and actually doesn't even service our entire city. When will the Conservative government finally stop abandoning Brampton families and give us the support we need to fight COVID-19?
Thank you very much, Speaker. And in fact, Brampton has been given significant assistance during the course of this pandemic. There is no suggestion that they're receiving any less than they're entitled to. In fact, out of the 114 hotspots that have identified across the province, there are 25 hotspots in the Brampton and Peel area, allowing access to more vaccines. That 25% that I was speaking about before, 25% of all vaccines off the top are divided amongst those public health regions. Brampton has 25 of them. In addition, the areas where people can receive vaccines in Peel, Brampton and Peel, is over 150 pharmacies, 7 of which are operating 24/7, 40 primary care sites, 4 hospitals, 8 plus pop-up sites in high priority areas, and countless mobile vaccination teams. We are certainly well aware that Peel is a hotspot, and we are dedicating more vaccines in more places for people to receive those vaccines.
Mississauga Malton MP Deepak Anand discusses importance of driving license in Ontario Legislative Assembly. He shared his experience of getting his driver license for the very first time. He said every year driving instructors issue license to thousands of people, especially young people.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I still remember the day when I received my driver license. I felt empowered. Immediately, the definition of distance changed for me. Every year, driving instructors help thousands of people like our youth, those who wait for years for that first drive of independence. New immigrants whose job prospects could multiply with a driving license. Truckers who need their full G before moving on to their commercial license. I want to acknowledge and thank driving instructors for playing an integral and important role in our communities. A special shout out goes to APDIO and ADSIO for their Ontario spirit. During these tough times, you have stepped up and has supported the community by delivering food and PPEs to the families in need. Mr. Speaker, in Peel, in-vehicle instruction was only allowed for 4 out of the last 13 months, and due to pandemic, 294,000 passenger road tests were cancelled. Once the drive test centers are open, driving instruction will have to work, driver instructors will have to work overtime to fulfill the spike in demand. And Mr. Speaker, I want to acknowledge our office is working with APDIO to seek possibility of helping residents looking to get vaccinated and don't have transportation option. Through this statement, I would like to thank Ontario's driving instructors for their hard work and their community service and wish them the best of success. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh discusses the impact of COVID-19 and proposes paid leave for workers. He also reacted to the federal government bans on international travel.
In Brampton, a 13-year-old girl, Emily, lost her life to COVID-19. And the story that was told by Globe and Mail is a heartbreaking story that really illustrates how this is something that is impacting young people. Father didn't expect that there was anything wrong. His 13-year-old daughter, as the story recounts, was giving him the usual attitude that a 13-year-old we might expect might give to a father who was worried about their health. And it seemed fine until the next day he checked on her and she was dead. He was a worker that had to go into work. He did not have access to paid sick leave. We know that paid sick leave can save lives. Emily, 13-year-old Emily, did not have to die. This is what we're up against. We need to immediately vaccinate everyone who needs it most, get them the vaccine, and we need to make sure there's paid sick leave. So again, we are redoubling our call to bring in paid sick leave that actually works. This is vital, this is important, this will save lives. We need to do this immediately. Certainly, and I just want to start off, I should have said this in previous questions. While I think that there is a real threat that public health experts have outlined around international travel and spreading of the infection because of travel, I know that the experts have said that the most important thing we can do right now is to protect workers who are getting sick at work, and that's why we really are emphasizing the paid sick leave. And so previous questions, I acknowledge the real concern, and we've got to do better. And the countries that have done a good job of quarantining and have been really effective are, of course, Australia and New Zealand. They, of course, do have unique advantages, being the geographic barriers that they have naturally with being islands or being separated by water from other travelers. So they certainly have certain advantages, but they put in place a really strong quarantining process that worked. But I got to emphasize that right now the experts are telling us that most transmission is happening in large workplaces, warehouses, factories.
Dr. David William, Chief Medical Officer of Ontario, sheds light on the current state of the coronavirus in Ontario. He said 2 cases of blood clots had been reported in the province of Ontario last week with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And a case came to light today. He said that patients with the blood clots were being treated in the hospitals.
Last week we reported 2 cases of VIT in Ontario. Today I'm reporting a 3rd case. The individual, this time is a male in their 70s, who developed a blood clot following the receipt of a Covishield or AstraZeneca vaccine. The individual is currently receiving treatment in hospital. So I know that there's many reports of serious adverse that may cause concern around the AstraZeneca vaccine. But as you know, we have recently had a further update from our National Advisory Committee on Immunization that has lowered the age down to 30. Still in Ontario at this stage, we're going 40 and above because of our supply issues that we only have so much to utilize, and we want to get that age group done. Nevertheless, if physicians have some other concerns, they can deal with that on an individual case-by-case basis. So these reactions are still rare, as we talk about 1 in 100,000, 1 in 250,000 of the doses given, and so far we've given about, actually administered 650,000 doses of the Covishield or /AstraZeneca vaccine here in Ontario. So we are continuing to monitor the situation. We are continuing to document these, to investigate them, and in partnership with our federal, provincial, territorial team, we're looking at those on a national basis because we want to be advised if there's any undue concerns. We'd be letting you, the public of Ontario, know and advising our healthcare community and our physician community accordingly in that. And so we are doing this not because we feel that they're unsafe. They do have a slight risk, a low-rate risk, very small compared to some medications similar, and very low compared to getting COVID and the complications of COVID. So we still want to encourage everyone, when is your turn or opportunity to get a vaccine, to obtain the vaccine and to have that administered, especially during this immunization week.
Ontario Transport Minister Caroline Marley introduces new road safety laws in the province. He said that after the passage of this law, stunt driving and high-risk driving licenses would also be discussed. He also included that the provision of punishment for these drivers would also be increased.
Further to keep roads safe in Ontario, protect vulnerable road users, and improve protections and standards for consumers and businesses. Earlier today, our government introduced the Moving Ontarians More Safely Act, also known as the MOMS Act. If passed, this act would increase penalties for stunt driving, street racing, and other high-risk driving behaviors. Plus tôt aujourd'hui, notre gouvernement a présenté la loi de 2021 visant à assurer à la population ontarienne des déplacements plus sûrs, qui, si elle est adoptée, augmentera les peines pour la conduite acrobatique, des courses de rue et autres comportements de conduite à risque. The Act would enhance protections for vulnerable road users and consumers, improve commercial vehicle and highway worker safety, and strengthen the province's oversight of the towing and vehicle storage sectors. This legislation sends a clear message to drivers. Driving is a privilege, and those who threaten the safety of others have no place on our roads. At the start of this pandemic, our roads witnessed a significant decrease in traffic levels. But unfortunately, many drivers took these open roads as an invitation to put their foot down on the gas pedal. Between March 1st and December 31st last year, police laid a total of 796 stunt driving charges in the City of Toronto alone. That's an increase of 222% over the same period in 2019. Across Ontario, charges for stunt driving increased 52% between this past March and August 2020 over the same period in 2019, despite far fewer vehicles on the road.
The federal government says Canada expects to receive 1.9 million doses of COVID this week. Canada will also receive the first shipment of the Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccine. Canada is expected to receive 3 lakh doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine and 1 million doses from Pfizer and BioNTech and 65,000 doses from the Moderna. Demand for the vaccine has risen sharply in some provinces after the vaccination age reached 40 plus. That Canadians 30 years and older can get the AstraZeneca vaccine is likely to increase the demand for the vaccine. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada is set to donate $10 million to the Indian Red Cross as well as provide personal protective equipment and ventilators. Trudeau talked about the heartbreaking news from the hospitals in India that are unable to keep up with the numbers of patients and said Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Mark Garneau has spoken with the Indian government on how Canada can help. Trudeau said we are also ready to provide $10 million through the Canadian Red Cross to the Indian Red Cross. Trudeau said this will support everything from the ambulance services to buying more and more PPE locally. Christian Group receives meals from Sikh Center. Guru Gobind Singh Foundation distributes 200 meals every Sunday. Freshly cooked Indian-style meals are served to families in need. GGSF thanks all the volunteers and supporters of this initiative. Over 180,000 meals have been served by the Sikh Center since 2020.
I'm here with Oscar Avarenga, who picks up almost 200 meals every Sunday from here at the Sikh Center Guru Gobind Singh Foundation. And as you can see, the car is loaded up. And we'll ask Oscar who gets these meals and how this is benefiting the community. Oscar, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Oscar. I'm a partner with Epworth Methodist Church here in Gaithersburg, and we're just excited to be able to come and get the food to the community.
And how many people are being served, and are you taking this to church or is going to the apartment buildings? So could you explain that?
Yeah, so the way it works, on Sundays I come and pick up the food and then I take it to the church. At that point we have GBCI, they're the Gaithersburg Beloved Initiative Community. They take the food from our church to Cider Mill Apartments. There we have over 50 families that come out, and they get food from the church, and we also then supplement with this food that the Sikh Foundation has been so lovely to help us now for many, many weeks. So we love to continue doing this. One of the best parts about this is that it's food that's ready to eat right away. The food that we give, you know, families have to cook and take time, but on Sundays they can sit around, eat some great food, and they love it. Every week they're expecting it now, so we love to continue doing it.
So today, as you can see, we have made chole and rice, and there is a rajma and rice also to eat, and so different kinds of foods is prepared. And today we also made pasta. So you can see this food is there. I just wanted to ask you, Oscar, how many weeks have you been getting this help from here at this center?
I believe it's been 2 or 3 months now.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's tough to determine time nowadays. Yeah. But Aman has been great in helping us out and getting that out to the families.
Okay. And in the families that you are serving, how many children this food is reaching?
There's an estimate of 117 children under the age of 18.
Wow.
Yes. And so there's a lot. I mean, these families just grow. The other thing is that the families, you know, they tell other people. So they find out that we're doing these events. And so sometimes we have a list of people that are coming, and then other families come. So this helps us. If we know there's a lot of people there, we'll give a family a box of food, and we'll make sure the other families get this. Okay. So nobody leaves without getting something.
Okay. So here is Sat Sangat Ji with all the support from the Sikh community, from various families who are supporting this. We have been able to send this food to so many families who are in need, those who are facing difficulty. Many have lost their jobs or their loved ones. So this is a great help. So we want to thank each one of you for supporting and being part of this effort. And we would like this to continue as much as possible, as long as possible. And Sat Sangat Ji, aap ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਦੇਖੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੰਗਰ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਲੋਕ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਉਹ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਅਰਦਾਸਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ. So we are very grateful for your initiative to really provide this food. And you know, in our faith, the founder of the faith said that if you want to reach God, you need to make sure that you serve those who are in need.
Yes.
So we are doing God's work.
Yes,
so thank you so much for your kindness and your work.
Thank you. And thank you to all your people, the foundation, for continuing to support the community. It's wonderful when, even if you don't know who exactly you're serving, you know you're serving the community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.
So that's all we have in this edition. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updated news.